Well, good evening. Hey, the sign says I'm live, and it appears to be that way. Welcome. It is Sunday Night Live. This should actually be reading Sunday Night AstroLive. I don't know why it's not reading that, but I'm going to Sunday Night Astro Live. There we go. YouTube says I'm on. How about that? And guess what? I'm on. I'm on. So it's interesting looking at that kind of picture. I took that. I think that was from when I was. What's going on, Joan S? Good to see you. I think I took that picture when I was. When was that? I think it was 40. I think it's around 45, 46 years old. Jennifer Rubin in the house. What's going on, Lils? How you doing? Bill Johns. Bill Johns and the H bombs in the house. My neighbor has decided to do some nighttime stuff. I wonder what's going on over there. Up 77, there you are, Justice Moody. Good day, Justice. You're talking about Melbourne, Australia. Looking at the Melbourne Chart. Kathy Steen. What's going on, Kathy? Everybody wish Kathy a belated happy birthday. I think it was last Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Tamara Garth, what's going on, Tamara? Good to see you. There's Ryan. Kevin Stickevers. Shark Week with Tyson is very fun. I love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is one of my favorite people. Let's see. Renee, what's happening? Renee. I'm getting back to everybody, Renee, and you are on the list. It is going to happen tonight. I'm going to do right after the show tonight, Renee. Mary Grether, Audi Brito, the one for the wrench. Jennifer Rubin. I think we said hi, but we'll say hi again, Jennifer. You're worth at least 2 hellos. At least. Sandra Wells. There we go. What's going on, Cuz? Christy. And Mary Black. Anna Chabon. Anna coming at us from H-Town. What's going on, Anna? Let's see. Charles Mazak. PGA tournament was great. What do I think? I don't know. Was it good? Did they have it? I've kind of tuned out of sports there, Charles. There's Ren Star, DJ MC, Lizalicious. Check it in from Brissy Washhands, also known as Brisbane. Soul Speak Frequencies. There we go. Hello from Bianca and Rick from sunny Melbourne. We're going to get into the chart of Melbourne tonight. Let's see. What do we have here? Talcha 88. What's happening? Isla Ren. Did I miss anybody? Oh, there's Faith. Hi, Faith. Let's see. Victoria V. V squared also in the house. Breeview playlist. What's happening, Breeview? Good to see you. Let's see who else. Judy Anderson. Judy, you're a little bit lower tonight. Usually around 5 or 6. That's all right. Usually in the morning. Nice to see you. Good. Nice to see you, Judy. Anna Erickson. What's happening, Anna? Welcome to the live broadcast, as it were. 70 people now in attendance. Yes, it is a horror story. Absolutely. And that is the plan for the rest of the world, boys and girls. Rest of the world. That's what they want to do. They want to bring their one world, systems-oriented government, full total control, top down, from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed. Hannah Simpson, nice to see you. Way to be here. Let's see. Anybody else? Looks like we've got a robust 7. Went from 80 to 78. That's all right. Probably somebody new said, who the fuck is this guy? What's he doing under these trees? Let me go see if I can find maybe the Leo King is on. Let's go over there. Let's go to his channel. No, actually, I like the Leo King. I do. People often compare me to the Leo King on some level. I think that's a compliment. I think he's good at what he does. I think he's good. Michael IR, welcome. Miranda Couch, good to see you. Let's see. I wait all day to be with me, with you all. That's you. So you all, good. That's better. You get more bang for your buck with Chatlandia. That's for damn sure. Let's see what else. We got. Do we have any other mods in? I don't want Ani. Shay Michelle. Hey Shay, good to see you. I want to make sure we got a couple more mods in. I love beagles. Beagles are very cute. Want to get a couple more mods in the house. So we're talking Steve, we're talking Kestrel, and we're talking. Hey Sage, what's going on? Christopher. Hello from Humboldt. Oh, it's my buddy Chris. What's going on, Chris? I think we got a session this week. Good to see you, man. Looking forward to connecting when we do our thing. Yes, they are beagles, 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 beagles. The Crimmies in the house. Leo King sounds like Alex Jones giving astrology reading. Has he gone that far? Has he really gone that far? Because for a while he was not a very conspiratorial kind of guy. Hi James, good to see you. Has he gone that far? I think he's gone a little more on the conspiratorial tip, hasn't he? I think he has, if I'm not mistaken. He's kind of morphed a little over to my side of the mattress, as it were. Zuli Shergo, nice to see you. He screams. He really does. He scream? Wow. You think I'd get more people if I screamed? Do you think I'd be more effective? What's going on, J.R. Williams? Should I try it? Should I try screaming tonight? My show's outside, though. I'll have to wait until I move inside, which is probably going to happen next week. I've been working on the inside. Not the primary inside studio. That's Studio A. I'm working on Studio B. Jennifer says no, that I shouldn't scream. What's going on, Christine? How are you? But I shouldn't scream. Alex has been censored from YouTube again, right? Can't get them. I don't know. I've been watching his shows on the General Shepherd channel. And I don't know. I haven't checked in the last couple of days if he's been censored or not. Just started watching Leo King. He is pretty conspiratorial. His intro of him being filmed and photographed cracks me up. Typical Leo. Oh, okay. There we go. So, I think originally he was not, I think he kind of went over in that direction. I think he kind of drifted over into this direction because he wasn't always that way. He was a little more generic at some point. Just a little more generic, I think. He has a lot of female followers, the Leo King does. So I think he was, doing a lot of his stuff for his audience, if I'm not mistaken. He's in chat sometimes. Love Clyde Lewis. Clyde is a man. He is the man. I'm a big Clyde fan. I've been on a show in a while. I'd like to be. What happened to your Friday show? I'm just going to be up front. I took Friday's show down. I'm going to put it up on the BitChute channel. I took it down. I took Friday's show down. I'm just being straight up. I'm being straight up and honest. I was not happy with Friday's show. I was not happy with Friday's show. That wasn't. It was hashtag expose Bill Gates Day yesterday. How'd that go? Hey Carol, we got to talk. It has to do with your lodging for October. So let's talk. Maybe even after the show. Let's see. Yeah, that was not suitable for YouTube. I don't really worry about the YouTube ban hammer. Let me just go over why I took down Friday's show. Okay, I'll tell you why. Some of it is personal. Hey, what's going on? Masaki in the house. So I'll tell you why I took down Friday's show. Usually, since I am not always the most punctual person on the internet, I can understand tardiness and lateness. And guests, I have some latitude with guests, right? But I was primed and ready to go, and I felt like when Stefan showed up on Friday, he was not primed and ready to go. I felt, to be honest with you, felt like he just rolled out of bed and was going to do a show with me. And, that's okay. I mean, to be honest and fair, during the weekday, There are times where guess what? I roll out of bed, and I roll out of bed at 7 a.m. and I'm doing the show by 8:45, right? But I have usually prepped before then, and I'm usually doing the best I can to get with it, as they say. I didn't feel like he was ready, and I thought that the conversation was fairly good at points. I had some issues. First of all, I do believe that the European people are being run off this planet. That includes Christians as well, many of whom are not European, but many of whom believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. And a lot of people who have quote unquote conservative values who may not look European, they're being run off the planet. Individualists are being run off the planet. So they don't necessarily have to be so-called white or European. So I had a slight issue with that, although I understand what he's saying, and they're using the so-called white race as the kind of the loose generator to create a reset and social change. Oh, I get that, and I don't disagree with Stefan with that. What I did have a hard time with was him essentially saying that Western civilization is the pinnacle, European civilization is the pinnacle of civilization because we make lots of great buildings. I mean, I'm being a little I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but that's what I was getting, right? So there are two things that bothered me with that. Number one was that he was throwing the entire continent of Africa completely under the bus. And I don't, and Africa is very complex. There's North Africa, you have Moorish culture, you have the pyramids, obviously. You have some very, very interesting people on the west coast of Africa who happen to be Sufis, people like Yusu and Dor. You have the Dogon people whose cosmology is incredible. You have some very, very sophisticated, but very different kinds of people living in the center of Africa, in the Congo region. And these are people that use ibogaine as a sacrament, mostly. Some of them use it for black magic. So I just felt like it was, kind of inappropriate to just completely blow out Africa and the African influence. I'm not gonna do that. And I understand where he's coming from, right? I get it. I totally get it. And I also think that there are a number of people who are from Africa who are really rolling up their sleeves and they're in the fight, like this woman, Dr. Emmanuel from Houston, who I believe is from Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. So you can't, you just can't make one grand generalized sweeping statement and have that stick and work. And while I do believe that there are truths and stereotypes, don't get me wrong, there are truths and stereotypes, which is an uncomfortable truth for people to deal with at times. There are also illusions and lies and stereotypes too, but stereotypes are there for a reason because there is a scintilla of truth with them. I'm not just gonna, completely flush an entire continent and the representatives of that continent out. So that was one thing. The other thing that I kind of had an issue with Sunday's show, and I get where he's coming from too, is that we don't basically we don't stand a chance. Like we don't stand a chance that they're going to come for you, they're going to come for me, and they're going to come for everybody, or everybody that appears to be a threat. And while I do believe that is something that we need to wrap our heads around and really wrap our heads around, I don't believe I'm as consigned to that reality as Stefan is. So, and I tried to bring other examples into the mix, and ultimately, what I was really feeling when he said, "Robert, they're coming to get you," that it almost felt like a curse in some ways. It almost felt like a curse. It almost felt like somebody trying to dispel, their disillusionment or their sense of disempowerment onto me. That's what it felt like. I went back and I listened to that and I felt through that. I'm like, I don't want that. I really don't want that. And I know that there are a lot of people that thought that he was keeping it real and that's great. if you think, and I gave him some credit for, being able to, get up and do a show and not feel great about himself or not feel great about life. I totally get that. I mean, there are days when I have that shit, but I don't know. I just felt like it was probably better to take the show down. I'll put it up on BitChute. If you really want to see the show, it'll be on BitChute. And I really felt like that this is on me because I didn't really have time to watch his 2 videos, and I was going to play them on the show. And I really felt like his cunning, or what he was talking about with cunning, had to do with where we are now. But the cunning that he was talking about was things like blending in and pretending like you're going to get the chip and then, forming a counter revolution. And I think by that, you're probably, probably not going to be much of a place to be much of a help anyway, especially if you've been doing, these live streams for the past 10 years. I could, do about 2 months worth of live streams and do a 180 and basically, support Joe Biden and Black Lives Matter and, and denounce my whiteness. I could do that if I wanted to. Maybe that would work. I don't know. Maybe that would work, but that's probably not going to work because they actually understand sort of some deeper algorithms about us individually. Bill John said he did seem really dark. We all have our days. He did. It was a bad day. It was a bad day for him, but again, it's like, I don't know. I do a lot of shows for people. Probably not as much as Stefan, but I do a lot of shows. So when I show up on somebody's show, I'm like, I got to be ready to go. I'm going to give them sort of the best with what I do. And I get that he was doing his best, but I don't think it was his best. And because I've seen him and I've heard him and we've had him on before, and he's been very solid. And he's very despondent, and I get that. I really, really get that. And I think for some people, that was actually really healing. For them to hear somebody as despondent as they are, I think that was probably maybe the best part about the show on Friday. I think that was probably the best part about the show on Friday. But if you want to get your dose of despondency on and have somebody else actually, mirror that, then you can go over to BitChute. I'll put it up over there. Okay. I love Beagles. I could only watch 50% of Friday's show. It wasn't my kind of thing. It was the only show I ever tuned out from that Robert has ever done. Okay. I rest my case here, right? I totally rest my case. Let's see. We all have our moments. I just got power back. Oh, congratulations on that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Totally agree with you. I didn't like his vibe. I think Stefan is a good person. Okay. I don't want to denigrate him. I think he's a good person. I think he was beat up. But here's the deal, man. Like, I knew where we would be. So what did I do? I'm not saying I did anything great. I stopped drinking. I worked out. I still work out whenever I can. I changed my diet. I changed my attitude, because I knew that we were entering into the fray. So I wanted to have as much of me online as possible, right? So that was my state of mind. And I don't know, I don't know where his head ultimately is at, really. And I got to just say, this is just me, and I'm gonna move on. If that was just me, I think if that was me, if I felt that low, and I'm sure he'll bounce back, and I hope he does, and I hope he gets back on his feet. But if that was me and I felt that low, let me just tell you, I would probably have a very, very different strategy, and very little of it would have to do with anything regarding to YouTube or anything else. Let's just put it that way, okay? If it was me and I was that low and I felt like things were going to go into that dark of a place, I would probably be a lot more proactive in different kinds of way. And that's it. You stopped eating sugar. Very good. I like that. He's going to shoot somebody on that just for coming up on his property. I don't know. The negativeness of that show was not interesting. It seemed like a condemning show. Yeah, I think the only time he was really happy was when Steve was on. I think when Steve was on, his mood considerably brightened. which I noticed on the last show that we did. I think Steve was somebody that he really enjoys talking with. There was some power he shared, some of the things he said. I agree. I don't, Daryl, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think there were some things that he shared that is important. I think the tree, having the calling tree was important. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, you can look, if you want to get into it, it'll be over on BitChute. Okay. But it's not going to be, and I'll tell you right now, if I wanted to, I could go just as dark as Stefan. I could go even darker. Okay. I could go 10 times darker. And I'm not going to get into, who could be darker, but trust me, you guys know me, right? I don't share about a quarter of the stuff that I know or what's going on, because if I did, you wouldn't be able to fucking get out of bed in the morning. Okay. I'm a filter. That's what I am. I'm a filter, and I try to filter everything so that you can wrap your arms around and say, Jesus Christ, that's scary, Robert. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, there's something else going on that maybe isn't as scary. That's my role. That's what I do. And, for better or worse. All right, let's go. Let's get it on. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God of the great central sun within the universal light, which is Yeshua, Sananda, Emmanuel. We ask that only the highest and best information come through at this time, through this channel. And we ask and are grateful for the qualities of strength and wisdom, humor, flexibility, courage, balance, discernment, wisdom, endurance, and above all, love. But we say a prayer for our brothers and sisters around the planet who are completely and totally oppressed, whether they understand it or not. To our good friends in Melbourne who are living in a lockdown city, which is, by the way, an experience that they are working on, creating, and gathering information for the rest of us. And we say a big prayer for our brothers and sisters in Melbourne to stay strong and to keep your faith. And every day, every single day, you do something to stay alive. And I will keep you in my thoughts, and I'll talk about Melbourne as much as possible as time allows, especially moving forward. We ask that any karmic residue be cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed from the stream so that we may re-enter our lives as we were before, sovereign. All right, let's go. Rock and roll. Let's see. Miranda has a question. Off subject. Anyone feel a strange vibe Friday? I didn't feel like belonged in my skin. Wow, does that have anything to do with the show? Or was that just a strange vibe in general? We were working up to the Lionsgate, which happened yesterday. Pour some sugar on me. I like that. That's good. Let's see. Anybody else? Laugh my fucking ass off. Robert said you wouldn't be able to get out of bed. That's true, man. If I laid on the darkness, trust me, it would not go down well. But that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to shed a light, shine a light on the darkness. Shine a light on the darkness. That is what I'm here to do. And that is what you're here to do. And we're going to get through this time together. And it may not be next week or next month or even next year. But we will get through this. This is it. This is what we all came here for. Sound like a broken record. But it's what we came here for, right? That's what we came here for. And if we're going to make a switch, we're going to flip the switch. This is the time. This is the time. We're not going to get another chance. At least not like this. So everything you do means something, okay? It all means something right now. Whatever you do, it means something. And not in that solipsistic, you're the center of the universe kind of way, but it means something. So make your interactions meaningful. Prepare your food meaningfully. Right? Think about where you're going with your life in a meaningful sort of way, or where you're not going with your life. Everything is meaningful at this point, and make it count. Totally make it count. And do your best to rise above vibrationally. This is something that I work on every single day. I try my best to rise above vibrationally, and I do it a number of different ways. I play music that I like. I get fired up. I can't. Whoa, it's being fired up. I'll bug you there. I try to rise above things vibrationally, but that's just me, right? Because I know if I can do that, I stand a pretty damn good chance of being able to influence my immediate surroundings and my situation. Much better than if I'm vibrating below this. And I got to tell you, with consensus reality, it doesn't take much to vibrate above consensus reality right now. Just think about that. They've taken everybody right down into their first chakras. You're not even in your second chakra. You're in your first chakra. You're wearing a face diaper. Everybody's vibrating at a really, really low level. Really low level. I'm just being honest. So getting up and above that level, dude, that's easy. That's like a cakewalk, right? And even if you have to like play the mask game or whatever, right? Figure out a way to like navigate around it. You know, try not to humiliate yourself as much as possible, at least in your own mind. All right. You know, I've managed to stay, I'd say probably 99.9% mask free. And I've gone into some places that require masks. Okay. They say they require masks. I went into a medical clinic and I went in there without a mask. And the doctor said, I'm surprised they let you in without a mask. Oh yeah. Well, I have an underlying condition. You know, and it's all, again, it's all about mindset. It's all about, so vibrate above. This is the key right now. Vibrate above consensus reality. It's not that hard. Let me tell you, it is not that hard. A lot of times what happens with people is that when they feel like they're vibrating above consensus reality, that they wind up leaving people behind. You know, they leave people behind. Well, I'm feeling really good. I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm feeling really good. You have all these other people over here having a pity party, you know, in the pit of misery. And you know, like, well, I'm over here now. I'm up here. Well, geez, you guys are my friends. You were my friends. You're my family. And then, wow, do I need to lower my vibration so I can kind of get close to you, so I can give you a little of my vibration? I would probably really rethink that. I'd really rethink that. So the best thing you do, raise the vibe. It's Gemini. We're in Gemini, right? True node in Gemini. We got the sun in Leo up here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a good time to raise your vibration. Go outside, get your feet on the ground. Do things you've never done before, right? That's another thing. With the true node in Gemini, you could try things out, like be experimental, play around. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, be foolish or, you know, or act the fool or act the clown or do something that, you know, be conscious of it. But this is a really good time for that. You know, Sagittarius tends, and I love Sagittarius. I'm going to get into the 12 easiest and 12 hardest signs and rising signs tonight. So you're going to want to watch that. And I love Sagittarius, but I will say that sometimes Sagittarius can be a bit stuffy. You know, Sagittarius has that kind of know-it-all vibe, you know, that know-it-all quality. And I love Sag. Don't get me wrong. A lot of my clients lately have been Sagittarians, by the way. So I love you guys. I love Sag. And on my rising signs, you're way up there. Okay, way up there. So don't feel like I'm singling out any sign when I go through this list, and certainly not with Sagittarius. But Sagittarius can be a little kind of know-it-all from the big place. Gemini can be kind of that little shit know-it-all from the, you know, the more adolescent place, right? So they both have those qualities to them. But right now, you know, the emphasis and the light is shining on Gemini. So play around, have fun, move around. Don't get caught in any kind of mind traps. Don't get caught in any kind of economic or even social traps, right? Be on the move. You got to be on the move. If you're not being on the move, you know, with your place to live, you got to be on the move in your own skin. You got to be on the move mentally, right? This is the time to do that. Let's see. Sag rising. Sag rising is great. And I'm a big Sagittarian fan. I love Sagittarius. One of my best friends from high school, Keith Amder, was a Sagittarian. Keith Amder was amazing. Keith was cut from a different cloth. And he was one of those few guys that you know, he was kind of a mainstream guy, but he wasn't a mainstream guy. Like his favorite musician was Frank Zappa in high school. That said a lot about this guy. And we used to get shit-faced together a lot. And he, being a Sag, he always seemed to, I mean, he could not drink. I'm just telling you right now, he could not drink. You know, I could drink him under the table. But he always seemed to sort of land on his feet, which is classically Sagittarian, by the way. He always landed on his feet. He was incredibly generous in that Sagittarian kind of way. Just a fantastic guy, great guy. One of the most real people I've ever run across. In fact, he was so real that one of his jobs, he used to work for the city of San Jose. And he doesn't care if I say this. He used to work for the city of San Jose. And guess where he worked? He worked in the sewers. He loved it. He loved working in the fucking sewers. And because he had his guys, it was like his grimy army. And Keith had great charisma and great leadership skills. And the grimy army, he was his grimy army. And you know what happened? You know where he got in trouble? I gotta share this. He went to work for the city of Los Gatos, and in typical Sagittarian fashion, he blew the whistle on the city because they were fucking around, and they were doing stuff they were cutting corners, and they were endangering somebody's safety, right? The workers' safety, and then there was also money involved. He blew the whistle on the city of Los Gatos, and he got into deep shit. And he was pretty much unhireable after that point. He got a settlement, wasn't huge, but there's your Sagittarian kind of, modus operandi. He was into, being very truthful. And in that moment, with that entity, and you could even look it up. It's on, if you want to do a search on Google, you'll find him. You'll find his name. And he's somebody I really love and care about. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But Keith, brother, I miss you. All right, let's get going with some astrology. All right, so why don't I go back and revisit last week? All right, so what I want to do is I'm gonna try to figure this thing out here. Let me go to. I'm just gonna go right into this, man. I'm just gonna dive in, because who knows how much time we have left, really. Who knows? It's all relative at this point, isn't it? All right, so let's do this. I'm going to go here, right there, and then I'm going to go right. Where are we? Da, 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 da. Right there, right there, right there. Let's do that. Let's do that. By the way, they're going after my man, the president of Belarus. They want his ass out. Explosions were heard in the capital of Belarus. They want to get his ass out of there. Yeah, why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't want to get on the knee for the World Bank, the IMF, the New World Order, the bloodline families. He will not do any of it. He turned down a lot of money from, what was it? Was it the WHO or the World Bank or the IMF, one of those entities, because he wasn't going to play the COVID game. Now he's up for re-election. He'll probably win, by the way, but they don't want him to win. I would say there's probably a very good chance they're either trying to stage a coup or they're trying to actually physically remove him as we speak. I hope it doesn't happen. The guy is a good dude. He's a very good dude, and I hope he can keep it together and keep things in check there. All right, let's go. Let's deal with this. Let's bring this up. In fact, I might even do a little quick check before the night is out on what's happening in Belarus, my new favorite country. All right, we're going to go here. How about here? Let's do that. Is that it? Is that where we're going? No, it's going to be here. I think this is it. Let's do it. I think that's it. Okay, so this is the Beirut explosion. Now remember, you guys, all right, you guys, hey, you guys, remember last Sunday night, what was I talking about? I was talking about explosions, wasn't I? I was talking about explosive energy. And what did I say around Tuesday? Was I not right about? I was right about. Not to say that I want to, toot my own horn, but it was in the air, and clearly it happened. Okay, it happened. So we got that right. And guess what? It happened on Obama's birthday. Who was I talking about on Sunday night? I was talking about Obama. And I was looking at this upcoming yacht, which I felt meant trouble for Barack Obama. And so that explosion happened on his birthday. Interesting stuff, right? All right, let's get into this. So here we have this country right here on the outside. And then we have the explosion right here on the inside. Okay, so what are we looking for? We're looking for connections from the outer ring to the inner ring. Okay? Capiche? So we know what time the explosion happened. Well, it happened at 6:08 p.m. When it occurred, the South Node was in the sign of Sagittarius, right in the 12th house. Okay, well, said country has their Jupiter at Sagittarius at 27 degrees. The South Node, being here in this chart, was at 28 degrees. Oh, isn't that interesting? 12th house, it's hidden. We know the 12th house is hidden. And what do we know about Jupiter? It is big and it is gaseous. Okay, 12th house, boom, there we go. Connection number one. The next connections are going to occur over here in this part of the chart. So Uranus, wow, we have Uranus right in the IC. So what are we talking about with Uranus? We're talking about what? Uranium, okay? Uranium synonymous with Uranus. Right here, right there, boom, 4th house. And why is it important there in the 4th house? Because that's the house of Cancer, okay? That's a Cancerian house. And even though the ocean tends to be Neptunian, I would put ports in a Cancerian category because that's where countries get goods, right? That's where they get goods. That's where they get things to, quote unquote, feed the country. And then they can, in turn, send their goods coming from their country through the port and out to the world. So I think ports are very 4th house. So what do we have? We have Uranus right down there in the cusp of the 4th house. And look what we have here. How about that? Somebody's true node is right there. Right there. What are we talking about degree-wise? So this true node happens to be at 14 and Uranus at 10, 4-degree orb, pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. The sun, 4th house, right there. Okay, there's the sun. Now here is where it gets interesting. So we have true node conjunct Uranus. And guess what? Uranus conjunct the true node. Okay, so now we got double Uranus, double true nodes. We got 2 significant hits. And what do we have here? We have Uranus opposite Jupiter, right there, conjunct the true node, conjunct the south node. There's Venus. We have Venus here, right off the coast of Venus at that period of time, and boom. I mean, that is a literal boom, I'm telling you right now. And then this is the money shot right there. The sun at 12 Leo, 12 Leo. Boom, right there. What happens if the sun would have been at, 15 Leo, 16 Leo? Well, we could talk about the orb. We could certainly talk about the orb. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a direct hit right there. And then the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Boom. Right there. And what do we have here? A relationship. There's a relationship between what's happening in the 7th house and what's happening out here. To me, this is it. This is the watermark, literally, of the event. Not to mention that we have Uranus on the true node on Uranus, Jupiter-Uranus opposition, right? Right there. And if we wanted to go one step further, there's Mars, 8th house. Mars is at what degree in the chart here? 20, is that 28? That was conjunct Regulus when said country decided that they were going to become a country. Okay. Hell, if I was going to be a country, I'd make my Mars at 28 Regulus too. 28 Leo. Why the hell not? Why the heck not? This is, by the way, this chart is very, very selected. Highly selected. The day did not occur. The day did not occur without some astrological forethought. Trust me on this. Without some astrological forethought. So what we see here, though, is clearly from a synastric perspective, we got matches all over the place. The fingerprints are all over this chart. And I'll just leave it there. I will just leave it there. That's all we're going to talk about on that one. Hey, BB, what's happening? Nice to see you. Let's see. I went from Mark Devlin to Charlie Freak to Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward. He used to play for the New York Knicks. I know it's a different Charlie Ward. Let's see. What else? Glad to be here. Okay, you guys have any comments on that chart by any chance? Any comments on how close that might have been? Like the odds of Pluto being on the sun on the very day, on the very time. Got any comments around that? I'm just curious. I'm just curious about that. Let's see. Hey, there's Jolie. What's going on? So yeah, Sigurd, I will check it out. I don't know where the yeah, I'm not sure where France is playing a role in that, but I'm willing to put France's chart up. Not tonight. I don't have it ready. And I have to go back a ways. Pluto's on your sun. Well, you got Pluto. You got Pluto on your sun, right? Yeah, in your chart. I know that. No worries. All good. Jennifer Rubin, Scary Real. Thank you. Jennifer, come to the head of class, please. Come to the head of class, Jennifer. Sit right here. Jennifer gets a gold star. I'm sorry, I'm being a bit of a dick, but that's okay. I'm just trying to show you, I'm putting shit together with these two charts, all right? I'm putting it together with these two charts, which, by the way, is probably not the most politically correct sort of astrological forensics that one could do. So if I'm being a bit of a dick for about 5 minutes of your time with these two charts, please forgive me. Because I'm entering into very flammable territory, okay? I'm just saying. Just saying. All right, I'm done with that now. So that's what I was working with last week. And I didn't really, it was actually after, what was it, Tuesday? So it must have been, Wednesday's show? I think it might have been Wednesday's show. But hey, I'm not the only person talking about this, but I am putting together the astrological pieces to basically say, hey, we got a match here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a match. All right, let's get into Melbourne. Let's talk about Melbourne. My heart is going out to you folks in Melbourne. It's totally going out to you guys. So let me see what we have here. I got two charts for Melbourne. I like doing these charts for cities. I think they're really cool. I was going to do Seattle tonight, but maybe I'll do Seattle next week. Seattle, by the way, is the perfect launching pad for Bill Gates. Perfect launching pad for Bill Gates. And I'll get into that when I do Seattle. All right, let's go here to the application window. Let's throw that up there. Okay, here we go. So Melbourne, you Melburners, you probably know that your city was founded on 6/6/1835 at 2 p.m. That's your chart right there. And the thing about the Melbourne chart is this wonderful grand trine that Melbourne has. It's a bit wide, but it still kind of, comes in at that grand trine position. We have Chiron, which is in Gemini, and we have Neptune here, which is at the beginning phase of Sagittarius. And by the way, a lot of what I think you're experiencing is a Saturn conjunction with Neptune in your own chart, which is also in the fourth house. You have a lot of planets making their journey through your fourth house, Melbourne. Difficult stuff, right? We got Saturn, we got Pluto, we got Jupiter. And when I work with clients and I see the Saturn transit through the fourth house, whatever sign Saturn is in, and obviously now it's in Capricorn, but whatever sign Saturn is in, when it's going through somebody's fourth house, generally the story or the information that I'm working with, it is time for you to move. I have seen this 99.9% of the time when Saturn is transiting through the fourth house. I can say it with utmost conviction. Okay. Now, the 0.1% that don't move are people that stay where they're going to stay or stay where they're currently staying, and then they build their place up. They either reinforce the foundation, have new wiring, have new plumbing. Maybe they put another structure somewhere on the property so grandma or grandpa can come and hang out. But most of the time, people move. Now, you Melbourners, you can't move. That's the problem. You can't move about. But one of the things that I have suggested, and I'll suggest it again. I think it would be, I know I'm not living there. But I think you guys should evacuate your city. I really do. I think you should all, what do you have? I think we've got a population of, is it 5 million? I think it's 5 million people, if I'm not mistaken. Even if you got 2 million people to get in their cars and leave the city, okay, that would be a statement. Hell, you got a million people. How about 100,000? But I would love to see 4 million people just evacuate Melbourne. Just evacuate Melbourne. You know, where do you go? I don't know. You can go to Sydney or Canberra. I don't know where you go. Maybe you go in the center of the country. Go to Ayers Rock and start your own city. I don't know. But with Saturn in the 4th house, right? This is that move kind of algorithm. I would move. If I could lead 2 million people out of Melbourne, I would do it. If I could be the Moses of Melbourne, I would do it. I would lead you guys out of there. And just like, let's go. Let's Mad Max this thing. Let's get the fuck out of here. Leave them to their city, okay? Leave them to their city. Let them have their city. Let them have their little COVID prison camp, okay? Say, we're done. We're out of here. See ya. You can't do that. You can't. Yeah, we're leaving. We don't know where we're going. We're leaving. Now the other cities in Australia are like, no. You can't come here. Please, you can't come here. Now we get into tribalism, right? I'm sorry. That would be my strategy. You got a lot going on, Melbourne. And it's a Saturn conjunction with Neptune. That's a tough conjunction, you know. It's a really tough conjunction. That's when, you know, Neptune, especially in Aquarius, tends to be kind of liberal and kind of open and easygoing, right? But the Saturn's coming in. It's like, you know, hey, man, we're going to put the lockdown. This is going to be a lockdown time. And it's not quite there yet. But, you know, Saturn moves through Aquarius. It's going to square Venus. And there's going to be even harder kinds of energies to deal with moving forward. This is going to be very tough on relationships for you people in Melbourne. Here's Uranus right there, conjuncting Venus, 7th house. I think it's really rattling the stability of relationships in Melbourne. And Uranus is going to square Mars here, you know, fairly soon, by about a year and a half from now. It gets into a tidal orb. That to me is rebellious. Like, I think what will probably happen is it'll be like a pressure cooker. And the deeper Uranus goes into the transit, even if it like conjuncts with Venus, which I think it will, by next year, like the first part of 2021, you get that, you know, 11, 12 degrees and start squaring against Mars. I think you guys will have had enough. It feels that way. It feels, and I'm not sure what you're going to do, but I think this square for you guys is the breaking point. Now, Jupiter is going to come in here at the end of the year. So you're going to get the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction on Neptune. But that's kind of interesting because Jupiter opens up possibilities. Saturn is also about structure, order, and form. You know, if you guys could figure out your own charter and create your own charter, and I'm serious about this, if you could create your own charter inside the city of Melbourne, you know, change the language, dispel the language of the current charter, then you guys might be able to shake and bake and make something happen. And I was just watching Corey from A Plain Truth, and he's really great. I love that guy. And they have been working on a charter for Mendocino. It's Mendocino County. And I don't think they got it all the way through, but I think this is going to be the only hope that we as local people have. You know, we can't go up against these massive oligarchic structures, these proto corporations that aren't just corporations. They're living. Well, I'm not sure they're living, but they're entities. Like corporations are entities unto themselves, and I don't think we can go at them in that sort of way, but we can go at them underneath them, and we can create new language for new charter for the places that we live. So Melbourne, I would strongly recommend, short of just leaving your city en masse and just completely fucking with their heads, that you create a new charter, because that's what Jupiter is there to do. Jupiter is there to expand, right? And we get into your true node, and look at you got your nodal return coming up, and that'll be summer of next year. So I think ultimately things are going to be looking up for you Melbourners, but you're gonna have to take some steps. You're gonna have to take some steps. There's that beautiful Libra rising. It's on the Via Combusta. So the Via Combusta is what is it? It's like 20. I think it's around 20 Libra or 21 Libra to what, about 13, 14 Scorpio. It's the burning path. It's a hard part of the chart. So it's right there on your ascendant. So you're going through, kind of a burn time. And what's happening here? You got Pluto squaring your ascendant. You've gone through the Saturn square already. Pluto is kind of, well, it's still a square, but it's separating. Now we know Pluto goes retrograde. I think it goes back to what, about 2021. So it will move closer into square with your ascendant. And we know that Pluto and Capricorn really are these Plutonian, these plutocrats. And we saw this. We saw this coming as we saw Saturn move into conjunction with Pluto. And I've been talking about this for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think it was one of my last shows with Regina. I talked about the overreach of government, right? And that was when the South Node was in Capricorn. So know that South Node is in Sagittarius, and you're going to have your nodal return. You can balance the books here, Melbourne. I'm telling you, you can balance the books, but you're going to have to get up off your knees. It's not going back. It's going to get harder and harder and harder. And I'm going to show you why it's going to get harder. I'm going to give you a reason why real quick, astrologically. So Jupiter up in the 9th house, even though it's in Sagittarius, it deals with law. It deals with law. And in Gemini, what is it? It's legal language. Legal language, right? It's different, though. It is different than Sagittarian language. Watch the videos of, what's his name? Gould. The kid that did the thing on, he's not a kid, he's a grown man. Russell J. Gould. Watch his stuff on the ports, right? The ports, the Postmaster General. This guy went in and flipped language on its freaking ear, quantum language. If you're in Australia, you want to get in touch with Russell J. Gould. I'm telling you right now, quantum language is your friend. You have to determine the terms of which those guys, including Dan Andrews, Mr. Ken Sarian, who's sitting right on top of the chart there. In a lot of ways, this is why Dan Andrews has a lot of power. If you know who Dan Andrews is, he's the guy with the glasses, and he toadies up to the podium and acts quite seriously and is very intent and sincere. And look at what we have here, Melbourne. The sun is right on Mars in your natal chart. When I work with astrology, I pay close attention where certain planets are. So when I see the sun on Mars in a person's chart, guess what I'm talking about? I'm talking about their Mars. Well, why? Because it needs to be illuminated. You guys got Mars in freaking Leo, right? 11th house, groups, organizations, teams, right? So there you go. And you got this great trine to Pluto in your chart. Look at that. Come on, Melbourne. I'm trying to pump you up here a little bit. And look where Mars is. Mars is floating around right here. Look at that. 6th house, 6th house, 6th house. And then guess where it's going to go? It's going to go right in there. It's right in. It's going to oppose your ascendant. Melbourne, you guys are, I've seen the pictures. I've seen your nice little street side cafes and brasseries. I checked them out before they decided they were going to shut everything down. It looked very Libran. It looked very pleasant. I wish I could have been there and had a couple of pints with you, as they say. But guess what? Guess what? The hammer's now on this. The hammer's on Libra with easy living. Here comes Mars. Here comes Mars coming to your 7th house. Melbourne, you better get ready. You better get ready. You better get ready. You better get fired up, and you better get pumped up. And look up Russell J. Gould. You guys need to redo the language of your charter. I'm telling you right now. That is going to be your hall pass out of hell. All right? Your hall pass out of hell is right there. But you're in for a fight. I'm just telling you, you're in for a fight. Especially with Pluto down here squaring that ascendant. Loaded. You got a lot going on. But you know what? I think the stars are in your favor. The stars are in your favor. And if you live in Melbourne, right, pass this video around. And I don't care if you just slice out the Melbourne part. Just slice it out, okay? Just slice that part out and stick it on your YouTube channel. And I know a lot of people in Australia. And I know a few people in Melbourne. Just stick it on your channel. Pass it around. I don't like what's happening there. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. And it's a test city. It's a total test city. And we need you guys to step up. To step up and flunk their test. You know what I'm saying? All right. Here we go. That's my boy howdy speech. You can do it. It's in there. I can see this, man. I can see this. You just got to be clever. You got to be more clever than these people, right? Now, I'm going to show you why this is happening. You're not going to like this, Melbourne. I'm going to show you why it's happening. Here we go. So Melbourne, what I did is I took your chart and I superimposed China's chart right over the top. You're not going to like what you're going to see. You got the Sun-Moon conjunction right there. You see that? You see that right there? Sun-Moon conjunction. Now, guess what? Your Saturn is sitting on China's south node. Okay? Just wrap your head around this now. Now, what does Libra represent? It represents law, the scales of justice and scales of balance. Now, here there's a match, right? There's a deal already in place. I can see it. There's a deal already in place with the CCP. But guess what? You can foul this up. Saturn dominates here on the south node. It dominates. And even here with the conjunction, it's a wide conjunction, but it's a conjunction nonetheless. So guess what you can do? You can teach China a lesson. That's what Saturn can do here. You can teach China a lesson. Their south node is weak. It's weak, but you guys are Libran. Like that's the nature, that's the cosmopolitan nature, texture, and tenor of your city. But you have the upper hand here. I'm telling you. You have the upper hand. This should be a tell and a good one. Mars on Mars. This is an equal match. Now China's bringing Pluto, right? Pluto and Mars here. So they're trying to dominate. They're using the force of the Pluto-Mars conjunction to dominate. That's tough. That is really tough because again, what are we talking about? We're talking about plutocracies. So you're winning here. I think you're winning here. I think here you're going to need some help. You're definitely going to need some help there. No doubts. Their Uranus is right on your Mercury. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting because if you can somehow mess with Uranus a little bit, because remember, Mercury's a trickster, this is an interesting kind of conjunction in the synastриc chart. But because you're also dealing with the ever-changing landscape, that's very Uranian. Okay, well now this is going to happen. Now this is going to happen. Now this is going to happen. You're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with that. And again, I really think that it's going to be here. It's this part of your chart with the legal language, the quantum language, reassembling the code. And this would be happening where? In China's fourth house, their home. You would affect China by reassembling your own code, your own charter. All right. I think this is where you can get kind of stealthy, Melbourne, pretty stealthy. And China's true node is on your Pluto. They're trying to tap into you. I'm telling you that right now. That is the same relationship between Jared Kushner and Trump. Jared Kushner's true node is on Trump's Pluto. We see how that's going. But again, I'm just going to say your Pluto is stronger than their freaking true node. All right. This is an aspect. It's not a planet. It is an effort, right? It's trying to jack into this Pluto. Well, you just jack it right out. Moon Neptune conjunction. Well, that's pretty clear. But guess what now? China's going to have Saturn on their moon. And as a result, it's going to have Saturn on your Neptune. I don't think things are going to go the way the CCP is predicting here. I just don't. I think you guys have the potential. You have the potential, I think, to throw a spanner in the works, as they say. I really do. And particularly here, right there. Although I will say that I believe that the troops that are on the streets are not just your brethren from Melbourne or Victoria or Canberra or wherever, right? I think you got other troops there. And I think that they will do everything in their power to bring those other troops. Now, your collective sun is in Gemini, and China has Saturn in Virgo. That doesn't surprise you, does it? Gemini, I'm a Virgo, barely. And we're pretty smart, but I'm going to tell you right now, Geminis can run circles around those Virgos. Trust me. I've been there. Geminis can run circles around those Virgos. And that's your thing here. You got to square up against their Saturn. Saturn and Virgo is where they're a bit vulnerable. They're a bit vulnerable with Saturn and Virgo. And it happens to be in your 12th house. I think a lot of that has to do a lot of those mining deals. Gas, oil, whatever they're able to get out of your 12th house, that's that Saturn. So what do you do with that? Now, I know what I do. I know what I do. I know I would, let's just say I'd blow those deals up. I would just blow those deals up. That's what I would do. I'd blow those contracts right up and say, let's start over. That's just what I would do. Me personally, that's what I would do. That's Gemini. Or if not, there are other Gemini type things that you can clearly do within that square. I'd blow those deals up. That's business terminology. When you don't like a deal, you want to blow it up. It's like, blow it up, let's start over. So Melbourne, I would encourage you to blow those deals up and start over again. That's what I would encourage, just to blow those deals up. New deals. Have a new deal. Haven't you ever done that before? You're in a contract negotiation. I've heard Trump say it. We're going to blow that deal up because they don't want the deal. They don't want no part of the deal. It's not like, okay, we'll keep part of the deal. We're going to keep part of the deal. We keep this part of the language. We keep that part of the language. That's a different terminology, right? That's parsing the deal out. So I would say blow that deal up. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Okay. All right. Click that. What else we have here? Great suggestions. Let's see. What are you guys saying? What are you guys saying? What's happening? Let's see. A lot of hellos. Ivan is the new ambassador. He is the new ambassador. Being more clever than these people is difficult for people that are empathetic. We see things that are fucked up, others might prey upon. Yeah, I get it. Look, you're talking to a guy that's got a Mercury. You're talking to a guy that's got a Mercury moon conjunction. I got Mars in Cancer, 0 degrees in my 8th house, right? I'm a Scorpio rising. Okay. I can be pretty empathetic. But I agree with you. I hear you. I get it. That's kind of a concern, I think. It's kind of a concern. I get it. So maybe you can make the rest of us clever ones some coffee or tea while we go out and be clever. How does that sound? Is that a good deal? Is that a good deal? Can the empathetic ones feed the clever ones so we can all kind of work together? I'm just throwing it out there. All right. All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, there's that China chart, man. It's all over you, Melbourne. That's command control. That's where you're getting your orders from. That is where you're getting your orders from. All right. All right, so I was playing, I was driving around the other day. I was just thinking to myself, what are the best sun signs? And so I started coming up with a list in my head. So why do I think they're the best? Why do I think they're the best? These are my reasons why. And really it comes down to, I'm going to use the E word, easiest. Okay. What are the easiest sun signs and what are the hardest sun signs? And then what are the easiest rising signs? And what are the hardest sun signs or harder rising signs? And by the way, the lists don't match. They're different. They're different. So, and again, I have nothing against any sign. Okay. Nothing against any sign. Nothing. And I don't favor one sign over another. And a lot of people think I do. I don't. Not that anybody really gives a shit, but I don't. I do know that there are certain signs that are harder than other signs. And I've been doing this now for, 10 years. Let's see, I started in really 2008. So 12 years, but the amount of time that I've been doing it, the amount of readings I'm doing, you could probably double that time. Because I do basically 2 to 3 readings a day. And have been doing 2 to 3 readings a day for, let's just go 2 readings a day for the last 12 years. So add that up. Okay, so I've done a lot of readings. I've done a lot of firsthand dives into various signs. So I think I'm speaking from a kind of a qualified position. Not only that, but I look at it from a mundane level as well, like being in the world, and not that really matters all that much. By the way, if you're empathetic and you want to be clever, create a different identity so that your empathetic side can have its own empathetic relationship. And then your not so empathetic side could, do things that your empathetic side probably wouldn't approve of on some level. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go into, I'm going to go with the top 10 sun sign, top 12 sun sign, top 12 easiest sun signs, not the best, mind you. I'm just going with ease, like, how the world can unfold. So we're talking easiest to most challenging. All right. I put a lot of time and effort into this list, theoretically. All right. Why don't we start with number 1? I'm going to go number 1. And I hate to say it, no, I really don't, but it is the sign of the season. And I believe that the easiest sign in the zodiac is Leo. There's your number 1 right there, Leo. And why do I think it's the easiest sun sign? Well, I think it speaks for itself. Confidence, sunny disposition, usually. Very talented. Leos are talented. They have a lot of gifts. They do enjoy performing. Most of the really good athletes that I've seen are Leos, particularly quarterbacks. I think they're generally well regarded as actors and actresses. And I did a whole show one night on the Leo code, which lines it up with being, quote unquote, president of the United States. Okay. It has its downsides. Every sign has its downsides. Pride is one of them, obviously. Sometimes Leos can be the ultimate hobbyists, and they are at times unable to translate their skills into the world in a particular way. And I've seen this, and my father was representative of that. And for all of their self-assuredness, Leos can be really one of the most insecure signs in the zodiac. And I've seen this with certain Leos. I think it's the shadow of vanity in some ways. But by and large, it is a sign that I think is astrologically blessed. This is just my opinion as an astrologer. Okay, so if you're a Leo, consider yourself fortunate. By the way, Leos tend to be very generous people too. They do require a certain level of respect. And again, that sometimes that falls into the false pride category. Now, some Leos have Mercury in Leo, which isn't always great because at times their way of thinking could be quite dramatic. It'd be nice if you're a Leo and you have Mercury in Virgo or Mercury in Cancer. Very different kinds of expressions. But even with Mercury in Leo and a conjunction with the Sun, I think most Leos can survive that, transcend that, and have a pretty good go at it in this lifetime. Not a perfect sign. None of them are. But I think, by and large, Leo tends to be the one that is possessed with the most kind of innate natural gifts to rise to a certain level on this plane. Charisma, at times courage. Not all Leos are courageous, but I've seen a lot of courageous charisma, courage, a variety of skills. And Leos tend to be very artistic. That's another side of the sign that people, disregard a little bit. I'm thinking of two Leos. They're born on, if I'm not mistaken, they're born on the same day, different years. Mick Jagger and Carl Jung. Both are Leos, and they're both incredibly. And I don't like Mick Jagger, but I would be remiss to say that I didn't think Mick Jagger was talented. I think he was more of a showman in a lot of ways, and I think there are other people in the Stones that are more talented than Jagger. But guess what? He's a Leo. That's why when we think of the Rolling Stones, we think of Mick Jagger, and we don't think of Bill Wyman. Okay. All right. So there we go. Numero uno. That's Leo. Number one, easiest. Now, not the best. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm saying it's the easiest sign. Okay? All right. Let's go to number two. Here's my number two, easiest sign. It might shock you a little bit. But I think it's an easy. I think being here on Earth, there's no other sign better than Taurus, right there. Why? Well, first of all, it's an Earth sign, and I actually think the Earth rules Taurus. I don't think Venus is the ruler of Taurus, although we'll play with that. I think this planet is the ruler of Taurus. Why? I mean, we have the golden calf, and if you go to New York and you're down there in Wall Street, that area, what are you going to see? You're going to see the golden bull, right? I mean, that's a symbol. It's there for a reason. And Taurus people know how to be in the world, and they enjoy themselves generally. They enjoy the earth. They enjoy planting. They enjoy crops. They enjoy food. They enjoy sex. I mean, come on now. This is a sign that's connected to the body. And, there are times where with Taurus, I remember one time I was really into this woman when I was living in San Francisco, and I was working at this magazine. And I was working, and she was doing an apprenticeship there. One of those things. She wasn't getting paid. So we went out one night. I even remember her name, and went back to her apartment, and she was really, really beautiful in a very Taurus kind of way. But man, I could not carry on a conversation with this person. I couldn't. I could not carry on. It was like the tumblers weren't clicking. I mean, not to say that she wasn't bright. I do remember her being reasonably bright and intelligent, but there wasn't that kind of, snap, crackle, pop that, the Virgo mind was really kind of looking for. So, and I'm not saying that Taurus people are unintelligent. That's not true. I mean, Brian Eno is a Taurus. David Byrne is a Taurus. They're both born one day. They're really bright people. Really, really bright. But look at those guys. Like, those guys have done really well. They figured out how to stay in the world and how to basically, find their niche and find their groove in the world. I think it's a really good sign. Please don't be insulted. It was just that one particular Taurus. Just that one. Just one. And I'm saying that there are times of trade-offs in life. That's all I'm saying. And not every Taurus is like that. I just gave you two examples. Brian Eno, David Byrne. I probably have to go that far to find a third. Okay. So, but I think as signs go, it's probably the second easiest sign. Once Taurus understand what they want, what they need, it's very simple. They just go do it. They may take their time, but they're just going to go do it. And nobody's really going to tell them anything otherwise. They're going to do their thing. And they'll figure it out, right? They'll figure it out. And they're pretty good with a buck, I have to say. So easiest sign for planet Earth, number 2 is going to be Taurus. Okay. Here we go. Who's number 3? Can I get a drum roll, please? I think that the third easiest sign is Libra. Now, I will say this. I believe being a Libra woman is easier than being a Libra male to some extent. But I find that to be more true with the ascendant, less true with Libra with the scales. Now, a lot of times Libras are trying to find balance. They're not balanced people. They're trying to find balance. But I just have to say that most of the Libras I've ever run across, they kind of have a way of sort of, kind of skating through life, They've got this ability to not piss many people off. And they tend to generally look, as a sign, I think it's probably one of the more attractive signs, just in general, Venus rule, particularly on the ascendant. So they're never going to, sort of turn somebody off physically. That's not kind of the Libra thing. And even if they're not all that like aesthetically good looking, they generally have a sense of style about them, a bit of grace, and they go very far on understanding the social codes. They're very good at a little thank you, a little excuse me, a little please, right? Those social codes are Libra stock and trade. And by the way, it is a much more intellectual sign than I think people give it credit for. The challenge with Libra is that they will create things in their head and they will never execute them. They will not execute them. That is one of their challenges. They could have really great ideas. When they do execute them, guess what? They usually have another person working with them. Now, I'll say this about Libra as well. They enjoy the other person thing, but they'll also resent the other person thing at times. It's a really weird thing. And I've seen this with Libras. So they're always trying to find that balance between, well, I want to spend time with this person, or I don't want to spend time with this person. I want to spend time with this person, I want to spend time with this person. Right? But seldom do you find a Libra alone. That's the other thing about Libra. They're probably the one sign that's best suited towards a relationship. Although, again, in the case of the Libra man, they are probably there are 2 men, Sagittarius men and Libra men, that have the worst track records for commitment. For Sagittarius men, they don't want to be tied down. They just don't want to be tied down. Libra men are in both sexes, by the way. They are the archetypal flirts of the zodiac. So Libra man has always got the little flirty thing kind of going on. And he may not mean any of it, or same with the woman, but that's kind of their stock and trade. And again, for being in the world, I think it's a sign that adapts to the skills of the world really well. Although the world is changing, and it may be a bit tougher on some Libras, I have to say, I think a Taurus is going to be more suited to the world that's coming versus Libra. Libra is great at things like sales. Fantastic. So the world that we've been living in for the last, 100 years of sales, that's a Libra kind of world. They're good at marketing. They can be quite good at law. They're decent writers. They're great singer-songwriters. I mean, you just go down the list of Libra artists. I mean, you start at September 23rd, and I'm not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I mean, I used to when he was younger, but you start off right at September 23rd with Bruce Springsteen. Same day, John Coltrane. And not long after that, you're dealing with Tom Petty, and you're going to stop at Sting along the way. Okay, those are just 4 Libras I just banged out, right there. So as a sign, it tends to be creative, a little bit fickle, terrible at times with decisions. And I got 3 planets in Libra in my chart, and I know this. Libra people will drive you batty sometimes. I'm just talking about easiest signs to be in the world. Okay, I think Libra is number 3. Number 4, we're going with, guess what? Another air sign. And you listen, A lot of you people are going to be surprised. I think Gemini is one of the easier signs to be. I really do. I'm going to bring it up here, and I'll tell you why. Gemini is an air sign. I find air signs to be more adaptable, and particularly in the case of Gemini, immutable. They're always learning things. They're always able to kind of, get themselves out of jams, out of corners. They're always trying to, kind of understand angles. Both with the sun sign and the ascendant, they tend to be youthful. It is a youthful sign. The downside of Gemini, obviously, is the fact that you never know who's going to show up. And I will say that sometimes Geminis are not trustworthy. I'm just going to say that, okay? And I'm rating them number 4. You got to wrap your head around. And it's not trustworthy in the sense they're going to steal your shit or something like that. But there's that side of them that people don't know about. And sometimes they don't even know about. And when it pops up, it's not like they're going through a lot of soul searching when that part of them pops up. It is not a sign, generally speaking, given to reflection. I'm just being honest here. That doesn't mean that they can't think or they can't weave very intricate kinds of, castles of thought. I mean, just, I did Allen Ginsberg a couple of weeks ago, Archetypal Gemini, and it was a fucking masterclass in being a Gemini. The guy's off the charts brilliant, even though he's a pervert. But so there's a lot of ability there to be extremely intellectual, extremely clever, extremely conversational. And I know this to be true. If you're going out with a group of people, who's the one that's keeping the conversation going? Who's the one that's always kind of like, let's go here? It's the Gemini. It's the Gemini, and they tend to be popular. The downside to Gemini, I think, is gossip. If they gossip or people gossip, then they can handle it, right? They can handle the gossip. I think it's the 4th easiest sign. Adaptability, intelligence, mutability, youthfulness, and the ability to be at times socially relevant, meaning that they can move in a lot of different circles. They also make very good teachers with young people. It's a very, as a sun sign, I think it's really high on the list. I'm putting it number 4. That's my number 4. And I bet you guys are surprised with that. I bet you guys thought, yeah, he's got Gemini last. Okay, I got another surprise for you. Here's what I think is the 5th. Again, we're talking easy, kind of relating to Earth and being on Earth sign. And it's another surprise. I'm telling you right now. This is my number 5 sign. So it's top 5 all the way, right? Top 5 all the way. Capricorn. I think Capricorn is built for this planet. You never see a poor Capricorn. Rarely do you see poor. They're there, but they're not poor for long. It's a sign that is disciplined, structured, ordered. It has goals. Capricorn has goals. It's not an easy sign to be all the time. And by the way, it's not a well-liked sign. When I bring up Capricorn to people, some they'll say, "Oh, I hate Capricorn men." We'll say that. I hate Capricorn men. Oh, yeah. My sister's a Capricorn. Capricorn's got that vibe. It is not a well-liked sign, by and large, okay? But we're not talking about popularity contests here. We're talking about being able to be on the planet easiest, right? Once Capricorn understands something, once Capricorn understands what the rules of engagement are, once it understands where the path is, it will get there. It is a sign that will get there. It is one of the hardest working signs I've ever seen in the zodiac. It can be so unsentimental, though. So unsentimental, right? There are things that Capricorns will do, and people, and they won't understand why people think that what they're doing or have done is painful. They don't get it, right? They just don't get it. It takes them a while. But as they get older, and this is another reason why I have Capricorn so high, as they get older, they will get younger and they will understand things, and you will see them turn, and you will see another side of Capricorn begin to emerge. But when they're young, both with the ascendant and the sun sign, it's not an easy sign. It's challenging, very, very challenging. But again, for them, for being here on the earth, on this plane, I put Capricorn number 5 because they get the earth game. They understand the earth game. They get where they're going, and they usually achieve something of significance. Not always, but most times. They show up lower on the rising signs, by the way. Okay, so here we go. This sort of rounds out the top 6 for signs. My number 6 sign, Sagittarius. A happy-go-lucky sign, a sign that can be incredibly undependable, very undependable. But if you're going to go party, who do you want to be with? You want to be a Sagittarius. You want to hang out with a Sagittarius. You know why? Because number 1, they'll buy you drinks all night. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, they will stay out till the break of fucking dawn. You'll be having breakfast with a Sagittarius. All right. So they're great people to hang out with in that regard. They're very funny. I think it's a sign that's very funny. It might be the funniest sign of all the signs. They can be very wise, Sagittarians. And even when they fuck up, they land on their feet. This is one of the things that my friend Keith would do. Even when it's Sag, if a Sag would step in a piece of shit, there'd be like a diamond in it, right? You know, how does he do that, right? That's Sagittarius. They manage it, and they're generally pretty good at sports, by the way. They're good in the outdoors and athletic. They don't have great follow-through. It is not a great follow-through sign. They'll get everybody psyched, and we'll get together, and then they'll go off and do something else. Like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Right? It's not a sign that has great follow-through. It's a mutable sign. It's the second mutable sign. So actually the third mutable sign. Sorry, I had a brain fart there, Sagittarian brain fart. But I think by and large, again, on the planet, they tend to have slightly easier paths because you cannot stay mad at a Sagittarius for a long period of time. You just can't. You can't. You know, all of a sudden you're hugging them. All right, I know. You took my car out and wrecked it last night, but this is the shit that they get away with. Okay. Now, the downside of Sag is when the happy-go-lucky side goes away. Like when they get pious, ooh boy, that is a sign you don't want to be around. And Sagittarians will make that pivot, At some point in time in their life, they will make that pivot. And they will go from the life of the party to, I don't know, Savonarola, that's where they'll go. They're hardcore, but then when Sagittarius gets pious, man, they get hardcore. And all the things that they used to do and indulge in, all of a sudden, you're weak. You're weak because you cannot stop drinking. You see, I stopped drinking. That's when Sagittarius is hard to be around. And they can be very sanctimonious know-it-alls. But God, I love Sagittarius as a sign. They're great to be around. They're playful. They're having a hard time right now with that south node on their sun. But, Sagittarius, you got to love them. And I think it rounds off the top 6. And I had to figure out Capricorn or Sag. I put Capricorn just slightly ahead of Sag because of its ability to get shit done in the world. Other than that, Sagittarius, I think, it's a great sign. Great sign. My bias is showing. All right. Now we get down to the bottom 12. And I know there's some of you saying, when is he going to say my fucking sign? My sign's better than fucking Taurus. Taurus are boring. I'm interesting. All right, let's go to an interesting sign. I got it at number 7. Yep, water bear in the house, Aquarius. So I have it just slightly lower than Sagittarius, just slightly lower, because ultimately I think Sagittarius has a better time. Aquarius, we know they're bright, brilliant people, eccentric, genius. They're outliers. They can be really like you can meet an Aquarian. They can be so personal, and they can walk away and be like, hey, you just had a meeting with your best friend, but you'll never see him again, right? That's like typically Aquarian, and I think it fits right here at 7. Because the one thing about Aquarius is that it is really a paradoxical sign. And that if you're an Aquarian sun, you have to remember now, your sun is in detriment, right? Because or it's in its fall rather, because Leo's in rulership. So if you have an Aquarian sun, like this time of year, this is not your most powerful time of year. your most powerful time of year theoretically is in January, February, right? So you're born with this kind of individual sun, but it's in its fall, and you want to be an individual, but you also want to be part of a group. And that's where Aquarius gets like, it has its lessons to learn and path in life. The need to be a part of something, but also be individual. The need to be an individual and be part of something. It's a dance. It's a real dance. And when you are in the midst of an Aquarian who is kind of having an identity crisis, they can be a bit tricky. It can be a little tricky because they don't really understand or know where their place is. And I think that's a big crisis for Aquarius. If they don't know where their place is, if they don't know where they fit in, or don't fit in for that matter, they can have a real challenge. By and large, they share a trait with Gemini, which is really that they will be at times either the devil's advocate, or they will be outside of the code of certain social standards. Now, this is with dark Aquarius, and this is like the mad scientist. We're gonna create crazy nanotech vaccines kind of Aquarians, and they're there, right? They are there. Those are Aquarians that are so in their head, and they think that they're doing something so significant, and at times even for the betterment of mankind, but they're wrong. They're just absolutely wrong. They're kind of in this ivory tower place. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that as a sign, it can be very disassociative. Now, there is a kind of kinder version of that. It's called detached. And every Aquarian I've ever met has a sense of detachment. And no matter how well I know them, I really don't know them. Right? I really don't know. There's always something in Aquarian that's kind of holding back. And that's okay. And I think they're cool people, and I love Aquarians. I like hanging out with them. Great conversations. Great conversations with Aquarians. But if they're not right, and they don't have their niche, and they don't understand who they are, then they're in that kind of that Uranian crisis where they get hit with that Uranus kind of energy, which makes their life difficult. Now, I've gone through the list of revolutionaries, people that are revolutionaries, have revolutionary spirit, and trust me, they're chock full of Aquarians. So it's a revolutionary sign. It's a radical sign. On the right side of the fight, you want an Aquarian in your corner. You really do. On the wrong side of the fight, you don't want to deal with an Aquarian. Saul Alinsky was an Aquarian. Okay, he's brilliant. Look what he did. He's fucking brilliant. He's an Aquarian. It's like, and it's really interesting because that's the kind of intelligence in a lot of ways that has defined the progressive movement. It has defined socialism. It's defined communism. Aquarius is the base note that runs through all of them. It's because they are by and large collective entities. They are collective enterprises, or as my girl up in Olympia, Squirrel, likes to say, they are communitarian. I'm not saying all Aquarians are like that, by the way. But when you look at those ideas, when you look at those social structures, when you look at those social orders, this is the locus, the modus operandi behind all of them. And you look at the social architects, holy shit, a lot of them are Aquarians. Gene Sharp, Aquarian. Saul Alinsky, Aquarian. Sergei Popovic, Aquarian. Those are all guys that start the color revolutions. Aquarians. And if I thought about it a little while longer, I'd find a few more. So as a sun sign, I think it's an interesting sun sign. It's an easier sun sign because on the surface, Aquarians know how to get along. They know how to get along. They really do, unless they're the kind of uptight, anal, scientific Aquarian. In which case, I bet you if you sat down, and maybe if you drank, I bet you did, but I bet you sat down and you had, say, a cup of tea with Saul Alinsky, he'd be an interesting motherfucker. I'm telling you right now, that guy could talk to you about anything, okay? Anything. You said you'd walk away and go, wow, man, that guy is interesting. He wants to destroy the West and destroy governments. How does that work? That's Aquarius. It's enigmatic. It's paradoxical. Super interesting. Can be very social, and then we get the other side of it, right? And that's the side that I think, theoretically, they can struggle with, all right? But much love to my Aquarians out there. All right, now when we get down past Aquarius, it got a little tougher for me. It got a little tougher. So I'm going to go number 8. Number 8. And you guys might be surprised with this, or maybe not. But my number 8 is Scorpio. So why do I put Scorpio above the rest of the signs? Well, number one, if you got a Scorpio friend, you got a friend for life. That's it. You have a friend for life if you have a Scorpio friend. So there's loyalty with Scorpio. There's commitment. There's intensity with Scorpio. I believe that as a sign, it is highly underrated. Highly underrated. It's one of those signs where when you say you're a Scorpio, people go, oh, hey, you know. I'm not afraid of Scorpio. I think Scorpio is actually a very powerful sign. It's a transcendent sign. It's a sign that's really good with resources, right? There's sexual and sacral energy with Scorpio. You know, the challenge with Scorpio is the transformational piece, right? The destruction, because Scorpios have to go through that or face it. It's more prevalent on the ascendant than it is on the sun sign. I also think that being a Scorpio is kind of hard in the world. Our man was talking about being empathetic. It's an empathetic sign. So what Scorpio does is it goes on the attack. The best defense is a good offense. That is the Scorpio model. And it does so because it's empathetic. It's a very sensitive sign. I think a hard part for Scorpio is when they cut people out in their life. And if you cross a Scorpio, you're done. You're done. You're not getting back in. The door is shut. So I think from a social perspective, that makes it difficult. It can make it very. I also don't think that they're social butterflies. I think they're very selective about who they hang out with. I'm talking about easy now. I'm not talking about best, right? But I think the reason why I have it so high is because it is a sign that is committed to its own process, its own transformation. Right? Nothing gets swept under the rug when you're a Scorpio. It just doesn't. It doesn't. And at times it can be self-destructive, which is challenging. Again, more in the ascendant. At times it can be vindictive. There is a vindictive quality to Scorpio, especially if you're dealing with, say, Venus and Scorpio, which will likely be the case if you have Venus, if you're a Scorpio sun. For a good chance, Venus will be in your own sign. But I would say that once Scorpio understands who they are, understands the operating system, this is a sign that can move through the world and move through the world either cloaked and undercover or using its own powers of transformation and even magic to get through the world and get what it needs. It's a very charismatic sign in a lot of ways, but it's not charismatic in the way that maybe Leo would be charismatic. It's got that kind of smoldering intensity. It also evokes fear, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to be in the world. But I'm ranking it number 8 because once they understand their operating system, it can be a very successful sign. Here we go. Now, when I started this list out, I got to tell you, this sign was lower. It was lower, but I brought it up. So I think the 9th most easy sign happens to be Aries. I don't think Aries is an easy sign. I don't. You know, I just don't think Aries is an easy sign. And I think it's harder for women. I think one of the toughest astrological assignments is being an Aries woman. Hands down, bar none. So why is Aries not being an easy sign? Well, that maybe for the rest of us. For Aries, they don't care. Oh, shit, it's easy. Aries learns through conflict, right? It is a conflict-oriented sign. Conflict-oriented sign. Now, you look at the world around us, right? Who's going to get more now in our world? Is it going to be Aries or is it going to be Libra? I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be Libra. And that's just the way it is, okay? Unless you're a totally committed Aries and you're going to go liberate the people of Melbourne, in which case you go right to the top. It's a difficult sign. Now, Aries can be great when it comes to just pushing and getting shit done and moving ahead and moving forward. Like when they're on, That energy is unmistakable, and there are absolutely no strings attached. Aries is a take no prisoner sign, and that's where it gets difficult. It's not difficult for Aries, it's difficult for the other people at times. It's like people don't understand Aries. It's why'd you learn Aries? That's why you're not. It's like you're not supposed to understand it. They're supposed to understand it on their own level, right? So in that regard, it could be challenging. You know, I think Aries people make enemies, and it's not because they're assholes, although sometimes they can be. It's like any sign can be an asshole, but it's because they have a certain lack of self-awareness. And I'm just saying it right now, a certain lack of self-awareness, because they're not really meant to be self-aware in that way. Why? Aries is based on the will. I will, right? I will. That's their thing. I will. So when you're into the will, you're not really self-aware. You're just like, man, I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. This is what I'm doing. You think there's a lot. Libra's on the other side of that. You know, you get the Libra male. Well, should I or should I? What about this person or that one? You know, what happens if I did this? And if I left my house 10 minutes later than now, what's going to happen to me? I mean, that's the Libra trip. Libra is so self-aware, it is paralytic at times. Aries is on the other side of the equation, but I think it's harder to be in the world in that way for other people. And eventually Aries will get pissed off and like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And all they need really is like a few very close people who get them and understand them and are willing to go the distance with them, and they'll be happy. They will be happy. I do not believe, and I'm going to say this right now, I do not believe Aries is a great sign for leadership. I don't. And for a long time, I really thought that they would be, you know, a leadership sign. I don't think so. They're trailblazers, but they're not leaders. They're not leaders. That's not what Aries does. And the one guy that I always think about now is I think about Kyrie Irving, who plays for the New Jersey Nets. He's an Aries. And, you know, one day it's the flat earth, and next day, you know, he's on to something else. And he's not a leader, but he's all about Kyrie Irving. That is for damn sure. That is for damn sure. And when you look at like great quarterbacks in the NFL, you know, you don't really have a ton of really like great Aries quarterbacks. I mean, Peyton Manning's an Aries, but I got to tell you, Peyton Manning was not well liked. He was not well liked. There were guys on his team that liked him, but he was not well liked in the league. Bill Belichick is a fucking Aries, okay? He's an Aries. He's very successful. People hate his guts. They hate his guts. They can't wait for the guy to fucking fall. So what does he do? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to be an Aries. I'm going to show these guys. And by the way, he's a cheater. Bill Belichick's a cheater. And, you know, did he tap into his Ariesness to just win at all costs? I don't know. You'd have to ask Bill Belichick. They don't make friends. But a lot of times when you sit down with an Aries and you really have a conversation, again, like if I sat down with Bill Belichick, man, I bet we'd have a great conversation. But when it comes to them and their work and what they're doing, step out of the way. Just step out of the way. And by the way, if you get an apology out of an Aries, you circle that day on your calendar. Because Libra will give you 100 apologies and they won't mean shit. I'm just kidding. But they'll mean something, right? For every apology an Aries will give you, you'll get 100 from a Libra. But when you get an apology from an Aries, you know that it's a big day in their life, right? I think it's a difficult sign for other people in the world, not necessarily for them, unless they care, of course, how other people think about them. That's why I think it's harder for women being an Aries. I think it's harder for women because I think by and large, women tend to be more sensitive than men, by and large. And so if you're an Aries woman, there's always that fire and that thrust, but then the blowback and having to deal with that. Okay. All right. Now you see, I'm very, very, I'm very, what's what I'm looking for. I'm real. I put my sign right here, Virgo, right there, right? So we're at the bottom 3 now. And I think being a Virgo is hard. I think it's a difficult sign. I think, you know, the whole service thing, you know, and sometimes when you're into service, it almost feels like you're a slave. I hate to say it, but it's true. And it's like, well, where is the line between servant and slave? Question mark, right? It's there. It's there. And that's where I think Virgo can really get wrapped around the axle. You could get really, really wrapped around the axle and think about, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. What do I always feel like people are taking advantage of me? I work all these hours, et cetera, et cetera. That's the narrative of the Virgo head. Now, Virgos are pretty good at getting things done most of the time. Much better on the ascendant than the sun sign, by the way. I think a Virgo ascendant is one of the better ascendants. I'll do those next week. I'll do all the rising signs next week. But I think it's a tough sign. I do, because you're dealing with that back end, which is Pisces with the sun. It's challenging. It's challenging. And Virgo is a sign that doesn't always get the credit. It's a very underrated sign. You'll hear people, oh, well, he's a very underrated actor. He's probably a Virgo. Or, oh, she's a very underrated artist. Whatever, Virgo or athlete or whatever. It's going to be Virgo. They have that kind of, if you say, oh, geez, I didn't know that person was a Virgo. They'll have that play. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Like one of the greatest jazz saxophone players of all time, Charlie Parker, is a Virgo. But when you talk about saxophone, who do people talk about? Oh, John Coltrane. John Coltrane. Yeah, John Coltrane. Train. Train's born on September 23rd, the autumnal equinox, right? Libra. Charlie Parker was great, man. He's one of the greatest musicians of all time. But where is he? Do people really talk about Charlie Parker? Yeah, they talk Miles Davis, Gemini, John Coltrane. Hey, John Coltrane, Libra. So you'll see people like that every now and then. Will pop up in Virgo. Oh, that person's a Virgo. Really? I didn't know that. I will say this: that some of the most beautiful women in the zodiac are Virgo women. You just go right down the line. If I opened up Virgo sun women, you go, wow, yeah. Very attractive women. Very attractive women. So I think Virgo women probably get the better deal out of the deal than the Virgo man. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. But like I said, every now and then you'll have a Virgo that will, oh wow, I didn't know that person was a Virgo. And it will be interesting. It's kind of an outlier sort of thing, but underrated. You'll say that, yeah, that person's really, really underrated. But I think it's a tough sign, and I think the other thing, the reason why it's hard is because Virgos put a lot of pressure on themselves. It's an internal thing, it's internal. There's a lot of pressure that a Virgo will put on themselves because gotta be perfect or whatever that story is, right? And rarely do they ever really reach that. So I think not an easy sign, not an easy sign. Now we're getting down to the bottom two. If you're keeping track at home, you know what those bottom two are. And please don't hate me when I get there. Just don't hate me. I'm just being honest, just being real. Just being honest and real. Here we go. This is my number 11 sign right there. It's Cancer. I love Cancer as a sign. I think it's an underrated sign. It's a soulful sign, right? Around the house, the home, mothers, nurses. This is a very important sign. But I think it's hard to be a Cancer. I really do. I'm not saying it's a bad sign. There are great aspects of Cancer, great aspects of all these signs. I just think it's a hard sign. I think it's one of the hardest signs to be, especially Cancer man. Again, we're talking feminine energy. I think being a Cancer woman is easier than a Cancer man because a Cancer man is so sensitive, really sensitive, right? So how do you deal with that? You have to figure out ways to deal with it. Oh, geez, I don't know. I'll be shy. I'll be introverted. That's how I'll deal with it. I won't say anything. I'll just be here in the back of the room watching all the rest of you guys lose your minds. That's kind of how Cancer operates. But they're very sweet people. When you sit down, you talk to a Cancer person, and they really open up. They're fantastic people. I'm just telling you, for me, Cancer is one of my favorite signs in the zodiac. And I'm not trying to, shine this thing, right? It's one of my favorite signs. I really like Cancer people. Some of my favorite people have been Cancerian people because they got that soul quality. I'm just telling you, it's hard to be a Cancer in the world. It has to do with the sensitivity. It also has to do with that Cancer has, of all the signs, is the hardest one to adapt to change. It is not a sign that wraps its arm around change. It just doesn't. It doesn't. When it comes to moving, when it comes to changing relationships, it is a sign that will hang on well before the expiration date or well after the expiration date, right? That is one of the hardest things around being a Cancer. And then once they're finally able to move on and move through the emotion, like, hey, it's great. It's great. Why didn't I do this 10 years ago? I mean, it has that kind of quality when they finally do make the break, but making the break is hard. Once they're settled in and they're in a place, man, they found it. They got their zone, they got their home, they got their family, they got their peeps. And it's a good sign to be, if you want to have a family or raise a family, both men and women, I think it's a really good sign for that. If you want to be into growing things and helping people, caring, nurturing, nursing, crafting, it's a great, great sign. I just think sometimes, and especially the world that we're living in now, this is a hard sign. For the times that we're in now, this is a hard sign. This is a difficult sign, and I would it would be tough to be a Cancer now. It'd be very tough, especially if you're thinking, oh Jesus, I gotta move, and moving is a big deal for a Cancer, or just even thinking about that the world itself is going to be less nurturing, less homey, less family, and we're dealing with all these, on the other side, we're dealing with all this Capricorn shit. Right? What we're dealing with now is Capricorn. It's like that bleeding edge between Capricorn and Aquarius, and this is not Cancer's domain. Cancer doesn't do well in this kind of a world. So I think it's the 11th easiest or second hardest sign. Love to all you Cancers. I love you. Just being true, being real. You know who brings up the rear. There it is. There it is. I think by far Pisces is the hardest sign. Now, when Pisces gets it, like really gets it, and is good at what they do, it is a tremendous sign. Absolutely freaking tremendous sign. Once they get it. But they got to have everything moving and flowing in the right direction. Like Quincy Jones is a Pisces. That guy's really super talented. He did a soundtrack to a movie. He did a soundtrack to The Getaway with Steve McQueen and Ally McGraw. I had no idea Quincy Jones did that soundtrack. And I listened to that soundtrack. It's fucking genius. It's genius. It's like he's just pulling, he's pulling a little Ennio Morricone and, and a little funk and a little country twang. It's a brilliant soundtrack. I mean, if you ever want to really listen to the genius of Quincy Jones, listen to that soundtrack. It's fantastic. So when Pisces is moving in the right direction, man, it is such a great sign. But when it's not moving in the right direction, holy shit, it's a very difficult sign. And it can be very hard to be in the world as a Pisces. You notice that the last two signs are water signs. That's the empathy part. That's the sensitivity part. And Pisces as a sign, again, my work, my experience, it is the most conflict avoidant sign in the zodiac until they're not conflict avoidant, in which case they will just blow their stack. And I've seen Pisces do it, but for the most part, they will avoid conflict at all costs, which I think is not good. It's not good. I would say also as a sign, it doesn't communicate all that well. It's not the greatest communication sign. They have to get to know the person they're communicating with. They have to understand the ability, or not the ability, but the rhythm, the tenor, the timbre. And when that happens, they can be very good at communicating, because there's a lot going on between the ears of the Pisces. Now, there are other times when Pisces are incredibly glib and they're incredible communicators, right? And it's like, wow, And that's true. And that's where Pisces is enigmatic. And it's because all 11 signs are inside of Pisces. See, this is the big challenge of Pisces. They're all freaking 11 signs. All the signs flow into Pisces. So I think it's difficult. I think it's difficult for them to wrap their head and their body and their totality around, who they are, because there's a lot going on inside of a Pisces. And I actually think Pisces ascending is easier, by the way, than a Pisces sun. I'll get into those next week. I'll save those for next week. But I think if you, signed up, be a Pisces in this lifetime, congratulations. You took the master class. You took the master class, especially now. I shake your hand. I put my arms around you. You have performed an act of spiritual courage that very few of us can understand from our perspective. Now, that doesn't make it easy, right? And I think this is the hardest sign. This is the least easy sign. Ultimately, if you figure it out as a Pisces, if you can be at peace and at one with God and creation anywhere, there's one sign that's going to get it, and it's you. And if you get it, big risk, big reward. We'll see you up in the 12th dimension if we get there. All right. So there you go. Those are the 12 easiest to hardest signs. And I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about all of that. There we go. I think that was pretty fair. Do you guys agree for the most part with that assessment? Tinfoil Hat Tiara says, my best friend is a Pisces and I love her. She had a hard time with her kids. Pisces rock. Yeah, of course you would say that, wouldn't you? If I throw you let's see, the cold words, you'll never forget it. Faith's a Cancer. She's a Cancer. Cancer's a tough look. I love Cancers. Don't get me wrong. I got to be straight up. I love Cancer. I think they're great people. I think it's a hard sign. I think it's a very difficult sign to be in the world, right? I mean, a misunderstanding in the vitriol aimed at Aries in this chat. Didn't think this is the purpose. No, there's no vitriol at Aries. You're not supposed to look. I don't control the chat. Okay. So let's just be clear about that. The chat is its own thing. I'm just saying that being an Aries is not easy because it's the other people that deal with Aries, right? So look, in some ways, here, I'll even reframe this. For all you Aries out there, I think Aries is the easiest sign. I think it's even easier than Leo, okay? Because when you're in Aries, it's just your thing. It's your thing. It's easy, right? It's easy. But it's not always easy for other people. And that's the lesson. Aries learns through conflict. It learns through and when you learn through conflict, if that's your thing and that's what you're going through in this lifetime, then that's what it's about. I just don't think it's easy. That's it. But I do think if I wanted to rearrange this, it'd probably be the easiest sign because it's the sign that doesn't give a fuck, supposedly. Right? Does Bill Belichick give a fuck about anybody? Really? I don't think he does. All he cares about is winning, right? That's all he cares about. That's his path. So, hey, you narrow down everything else, and that's what it's all about. Life gets easy. I'm just saying it's hard, particularly hard for Aries women, because I think of the two, I think Aries women are the most sensitive, or the more sensitive too. So, yes, there we go. All right. I am a Pisces to the max. Billy Corgan's a Pisces. He's great. Love Billy Corgan. He's fantastic. And he's a lot more. I remember, it was really interesting. This speaks to Billy Corgan. It speaks to Pisces. Billy Corgan was showing up on Alex Jones about 3 years ago. And people were getting an insight into kind of the conservative nature of Billy Corgan. And people went after him. They went after Billy Corgan. And where did he go? Well, he did not show up on Alex Jones much, and he decided that he wasn't going to have a public platform for his political views. There's your Piscean sensitivity with Billy Corgan, right there. Yeah, yes, and you just said we are hard to be around and rude. Who did I say that to? Who did I say that? Where is Aries in Robert's chart? It's down at the bottom. It's down at number 9. I think it's difficult. I think it's a difficult sign. I think it's a difficult sign to be. It's for other people. I'm just telling you. It's not an easy sign. I think it's harder for Aries women. I'm not saying it's a bad sign. None of the signs are bad. I'm just saying, and look, I think if you just wanted to boil it down to Aries just being like the rocket ship, and you're the pilot of the rocket ship, and you're in the cone, and you don't really care too much about what other people think, it's the greatest fucking sign in the universe, okay? That's fine, because that's how it work out. It's like self-directed, and as long as you just turn down the volume of the world around you, you're cool. That's fine. I'm not saying it's a self-oriented sign. It's what it's about. It's about the self. You're here to learn about yourself, right? Libra's here to learn about other people, and then when other people have to interact with Aries, sometimes it doesn't always kind of work out the way that the other people want it to. And I don't really think Aries cares, to be honest, but sometimes they have to care because we're living in a big family here, right? It's just the way it is. So it's easy, hard. It's easy, hard. I didn't say bad or good. It's easy, hard. You have to go back and listen. If you think I said one sign is bad, right, that's your bias. You're hearing it through your bias, okay? It's your bias. I said easy, hard. I started with Leo because it's the Sun King. It's easy. It's an easy sign, okay? It is. Leos generally walk around with an air of confidence, blah, 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 right? You get down to the bottom, you get the water signs that they're empathic and they're sensitive, and it's challenging. It's challenging. And I even put Aries above. Look, I had Aries listed lower, to be honest with you, than I thought about it. It's too low. I think there's some really actually good things or easier things, especially if you're an Aries. I put it above my own damn sign. Okay. Amazing website where person's birthday is their death day remarkable. You've brought that up before, Charles. I've always loved being a Pisces. Talk to Quincy Jones. He says it's the best sign. If you're a Pisces and you are switched on and you're creative and you know who you are, you got the operating system, I'm telling you, man, it's a great sign. But very few, no, I'm going to say that. Not every Pisces has that kind of bandwidth, right? And it takes a while to understand that. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. One thing about being Aries rising as a woman is we are very intimidating. I think Aries rising is one of the easier rising signs, by the way. It's one of the easier rising signs. I have it up higher than most. Let's see what else. Because you said we don't care. I would say by and large, Aries care less about what people think about them. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. I think they care less. Do you think Bill Belichick, I'll just use him again. Do you think he gives a fuck about how people think about him? In his press conferences, Captain Somonex, that's what they call him. Do you think Peyton Manning really cared? No, absolutely not. And there's some great things about being Aries. I mean, Ayrton Senna was an Aries. He's one of the greatest race drivers of all time. I love Ayrton Senna. He's fantastic. He's amazing. He was incredible. Did he care about what people thought about him? No, he didn't. I'm telling you, he didn't. He didn't. You watch him. Go watch the documentary Senna. You'll see what I'm talking about. He didn't care. He stood up for things, right? He didn't care about other people because he had a lot of planets in Pisces. So, but you're an Aries woman. I think it's harder for an Aries woman because you're sensitive, right? You're dealing with asserting your will in the world, and women tend to be more sensitive and receptive than men. It's the way it is. I think it's easier being an Aries man than an Aries woman. And it's easier being a Libra woman than a Libra man. That's your assignment. You just live with it in this lifetime. Great information. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. I thought you said Santa. Santa was in it. You don't have to apologize, but thank you. Since you're an Aries, I'll take it. What is this day? It's August 9th. All right. This is the day that Heather Gianna apologized. I'll put it in the show description. Aries will contradict their own beliefs just for a good argument. Ooh. It's Leo season, not Aries season. Oh, that's so funny. I'm an Aries and I don't care. See, Jennifer, there you go. You're an Aries and you don't care. Beautiful. I love that. We love you, Jennifer. I think it's more difficult, though. Again. Anything else before I get on out of here and piss more people off? Pisces childhood to be hard. Yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, I freaked out. Sorry. I think my list is accurate. Thanks, Isla. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think this show is refreshing. I really appreciate it. Good. You know, I just wanted to take a little bit of the heat off because we live in a really hot world right now. I needed to finish up a little of that stuff with Beirut. I certainly wanted to try to understand what was going on astrologically for Melbourne and see if there was anything that you Melbourners could do to improve your conditions there astrologically. And I sure hope I was able to shine a little bit of light on that. And the rest of it, a little bit of fun and a little bit of entertainment. All right, thanks for being here tonight. It's 10:30. It's very dark in the hill country. Beautiful, really beautiful night out. The sky, man. It's really pitch black behind me. I may have to go out and take a look at the stars a little bit. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. We're back in it. We're back in the flame tomorrow. We're turning up the heat. I didn't look at the week ahead. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. If you want to see what's happening astrologically, join me on tomorrow's show. We'll dive into the chart of the moment tomorrow on a Monday. And to all of you signs, I love you. Love you a lot. You're all great. You're all great. I have to say, though, you Cancer risings are my best clients. No, I'm just kidding. It's kind of true, though. All right. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to send what's possible. I'm your blue-collar astrologer. I'm Robert Phoenix, and I'll be back tomorrow with 15 Minutes of Flame. Have a great evening. See you then.